This is so rad.
Do me a favor then. Come with me.
All right, here we go. Now I want you to give a big warm welcome to these guys. Where did you guys get to travel from?
We came out from New York City, but now living over in Santa Cruz area. Thank goodness.
Subjective perspective right here.
My scholars, we've been talking about Mike Murda for the last, 12 weeks, several months in this semester. Could we please have a warm round of applause for one of the greatest people on this planet? Mike Murda! This means so much to us, my man.
I used to watch you on television, brother. I'm a fan of yours, a buddy of yours, but quite frankly, you know, this is going to be an organic combo, my boy. I just want to have a good time with my man to inspire all these cats. My brother, can I start out with a basic question? Just a basic one, bro. Mikey, where were you born and raised, brother?
I was born and raised in El Paso, Texas, which is like right on the border to Juarez, Mexico.
El Paso? That's getting out to the west side of Texas.
Like as far west as you can possibly go. It shares a border with Mexico and New Mexico, so people think El Paso is Texas, but it's really like 95% Hispanic and Mexican.
Yeah. Now, Mike, when you were in Texas, brother, you know, all these students that are listening in, you know, it's pretty incredible to see what you've done. And we were just watching videos of you on Tuesday, brother, and crazy choreography. We're gonna get to all that good stuff. But how did this whole dancing thing happen in your life, man, come from El Paso?
It really kind of happened on accident, in all honesty. What was I doing? I really wasn't dancing, and when I was in middle school, like out of nowhere, it was like a big fad. Like everybody was breakdancing. It was like a wave. It was like a little trend, and everybody was breaking, and like everybody had their little crews, and it lasted for like only like a year. But I got into it through that like little wave.
Yeah.
And I just kept on doing it. And I just got together with like-minded people. Everybody was older than me at the time because I was only like in 7th grade.
Yeah.
So all my friends were much older than me. We started doing it together. And then, you know, just that's how anything happens. It's all pretty organic. You practice all the time. You want to put whatever you're learning to the test. So we drive out to Las Cruces, New Mexico, and go enter battles. And then you go to like Albuquerque, New Mexico, and you enter battles. And then we go to Arizona and enter battles. And
that's right. I used to battle a lot of people, but for some reason I used to get beat a lot. I was not a good dancer, Mikey, but I loved it. Mike, can I just ask you, can I check for a second? Since it's 2018, brother, can I get a selfie with you really quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm gonna go over to the big screen. I gotta make this happen. Showtime! Yo, Mikey, man. So, we're hearing how it was for you to follow a vision. And Mike, I want to ask you, brother, you know, I want to get into the dancing aspect, but you also get into people's consciousness. You're able to, with all of the work you do, you were able to win America's Best Dance Crew with your team, with your brother's super crew. Can we have a round of applause for that one second, right? I mean, a lot of people in here, Mike, have seen you, just watched you on World of Dance with Jennifer Lopez, which I was so proud of you, brother, because after our show, after we had you on our show, basically, I saw a follow Mike on social media, and he's going to be going on Jennifer Lopez show on NBC. And I was so proud of you, brother, because I know how hard you work. Question is this, Mike, man. What is it within the world of business that you have learned over these last maybe 10 years in the industry? What is the inside industry like, being at your level, brother?
It's a lot of politics, man. It's very political, and it's one of the things that you start to learn once you get on the inside. Like, you know, it's great to be appreciated. People kind of see it for what it is and see like the TV show or whatever it is. But what they don't see is like all the work that goes into that and all the prep work that goes into that. There's so much that goes on. It's like when you see like a glacier in the ocean, what you see is like the tip of it. But what you don't see is the miles and miles beneath the surface that it took to get above water.
Yeah, it's crazy because I know right in our class right now, we have students from all over the place. Mako, where are you from, brother? Yeah, we have producer from Denmark right here. Which I heard, by the way, it might have been this young man's birthday. Myself, you know, happy birthday for this young man's birthday today. Look at you something. Sorry, man, I'm doing it. And really, all stars, like, I mean, we're looking at, like, in the same town that Facebook is. Tesla's right around the corner, YouTube, all that good jazz. I mean, you're talking to people in here, Mike, honestly, that are they're in this technological field. Hobby, morning, brother. And we also have some rollers in here, some jujitsu guys in here. So we're gonna get to some stuff like that in a moment. But Mikey, man, you know, the politics aspect for all of these students, how do they navigate that, bro? Like, if they have a dream, like you had a dream, bro, to become this incredible dancer, but you're dealing with the politics. How do you put the blinders on and just stay focused, man, on what your vision is?
That's honestly one of the hardest parts, because even, like, for example, like, I DJ as well for a living, you know, I'm like right now, but so I DJ.
Great DJ, amazing DJ, a huge venues. We're gonna get to that too, Mikey.
So one thing that I will say is, unfortunately, it's not always about who's the most talented or who's the most qualified. That's just the sad truth. I know some world champion DJs who are playing, like, opening sets for, you know, like, popular DJs, but not nowhere nearly on the technical level as the people that are opening. So they spend all the time in the lab and they're honing their skills and all this other stuff, but they don't play the political game. They don't play the social aspect of the game because they're artists. How many artists have you ever met? Guys who were like geniuses, but nobody knew who they were.
That's right.
Because they don't want to play the game, which is the tough part. You have to be able to play the game just a little bit in order to kind of get there. It's all about who you know out here. It's all about who you're connected with in right place, right time. Like,
How do you do it though, Mikey, bro? So then when you're coming from El Paso, brother, and where do you go to first? Where's the first stop you go to try to make your dreams come true?
Well, that's the thing, is you can't focus necessarily on, like, let's say, the day I started dancing, my goal was to win an Emmy, right? That's my goal. That's the only thing that matters. I want to win an Emmy. There's a good chance that that's probably never going to happen for me if that's my ultimate goal. I can have
That will happen, Mike. That will happen, brother. Because quite frankly, we believe in you. That will happen, but that's the goal.
But what I'm getting at here is it's definitely possible, but I'm focusing too far down the road. What I need to be focusing on is the next step, which is that little battle in Albuquerque, or that little battle in Las Cruces, and that will lead to the next thing, to the next thing. Like, I never really wanted, like, I'm just using an Emmy as an example, right? But one of the first battles I ever watched was Battle of the Year in Germany. So we keep on winning battles, cut to like 5 years later, I go on some international trips, and all of a sudden Battle of the Year is coming to America. Well, all right, let's enter Battle of the Year America. Then we win Battle of the Year America, now I'm at Battle of the Year. So it wasn't like my ultimate goal was to make it to Battle of the Year. I just focused on each little step, what was next. Because the next step requires all of your effort.
Regardless of what my students' dreams are, literally, Mike, I got all-stars in here, man. I got literally, like, all-American, like, wrestlers, people that are, like, top of their game in here.
Yeah, I mean, like, say, for example, like a fighter, right? Let's say I'm a fighter and I have a match scheduled. I'm fighting somebody next week, right? But I'm focused on the guy after him. I'm focused on the champion. I'm looking at the belt, but I'm overlooking what's in front of me. Chances are you're going to lose that fight and the whole thing's going to fall apart. You need to focus 100% of your effort on what's immediately next, because that's going to be the foundation to get to the next step.
Mike, this is what blows my mind, dog. Like, this cat, you've seen breakdancers that do it, right? They do the spin, they go crazy. That's it. He does that. Now, you know what I'm saying? It's off the hook. Now, Mikey, what's crazy, bro, is that you started years back, though. You didn't start just the other day. You started before social media came to existence.
Oh yeah, we were way. I was like at the age of the internet in existence.
Exactly, brother. Dude, what do you think, Mike? And my scholars, this is a really important piece I want you to hear, because you have an amazing capability of reaching the world around you. Prior, and we talked about this with the skating that you do, not having social media. But I want you to see that right now you have the ability to connect with people in a way that would have superseded what Mike was doing. Mike, man, like, how do you think you would have been a bit different if social media would have been in existence back in the early 2000s. Do you think you would have connected even greater? Do you think you'd be at a different point? Or what's your take on how social media has impacted the branding process?
I don't know. That's a hard. I mean, you can look at it one of two ways. Either one, it would have been easier, right? And we would have shot up much quicker, but we probably wouldn't have gained all the knowledge that you get on like the long, hard road. You know, that there's a lot to be said about what's gained through taking the long road and from failing over and over and over and over again. But at the same time, you know, I'm glad that social media wasn't around at the time because it built a good foundation for me. But on the other hand, I wish social media was around because it sure would have been a lot easier. You can look at it both ways. It's just, but social media now is like such a great tool if you know how to use it the right way and how to market the right way. I mean, sometimes I'm like whatever about social media, and then every once in a while a friend of mine would kind of like slap some sense to me and be like, you know that you have 20-something thousand people at your fingertips. Imagine if we're in a, that's the Grand Garden Arena in Vegas, jam-packed. All those people, you have all their attention, even if it's just for a second. Even if some of those people tune out, there's a small percentage of people that are going to stay in tune with it. And you need to focus on those people.
Yeah, and that's I think one of the most important things, Mikey, man, is making those real-world connections. You know, having people really believe in what your vision is. Now, first question, Mikey, with America's Best Dance Crew, where you were the, and I apologize, Mikey, the season 2 winners?
Yeah, season 2 winners and season 8 finalists.
And season 8 finalists. Incredible great dancers. Now, how did you get on that, Mike, with Super Crew, your brothers? How did you initially get to that main stage?
How did what?
I apologize. How did you get to the big stage of America's Best Dance Crew? How did they find you? How did they see you?
Like I said, it was all kind of based on relationship. We were already doing our thing for a long time. We were already a crew for, 9 years up until that point. And they were casting the show, and we happened to know the casting director, who was a friend of ours, just because we've been around for a long time. In one thing, regardless of whether it's in tech and dance or whatever, you'll find that once you get into that industry, it's very small. Everybody kind of knows everybody in some way. And if you don't know somebody, you're only separated by a couple of degrees. So we happen to know one of the casting directors. She wants to come in and audition. So we came in, auditioned for season 1, and Jabberwockies had also auditioned. But they were only going to take one crew. It's either going to be us or Jabberwockies.
Wow.
And they took Jabberwockies.
Have you ever heard of Jabberwockies, my scholars? Yeah. And Mike dances with all those guys. So Mike's really like the head dog, of what you're seeing, play out in those big stages. He's one of the head honchos. And Mike, so what happened with Jabberwockies and Super Crew?
So Jabberwockies ended up doing the first season, and they won the season. We said, well, whoever does it better win it. You guys gotta win it. So us and Jabber are kind of like, it's a big family. So they ended up doing the first season, and then when the second season came along, they won. And then they kind of signed off on us. So we came in, auditioned for the second. We still had to go through the whole audition process.
Wow.
So regardless of who you know and like what circles you're part of, like that's step 1. Step 2 is you got to deliver, right? So we actually.
I like that, brother. I like that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's like I said, it's a combination of luck, who you know, right place, right time, work ethic, and then ultimately talent. And if you have the talent, you can sustain that position. But if you don't, you'll come up and you'll go down real fast. So
have you seen, Mike, within the world of business and communications, with the way that you connect with, maybe producers, people that are running, the networks, Jennifer Lopez, what's it like communicating at that top tier level, brother? When all of these students are making connections, maybe they're talking to Elon Musk in a couple of weeks, maybe they're talking to the head of Facebook. How do they really navigate those conversations?
Well, in essence, it really shouldn't be any different from the way that you talk to anybody else in your classroom, the person sitting next to you. Because that's the thing, and that's one thing, especially in the industry, that people can see right through. Like if I go and I talk to somebody and I'm schmoozing, I'm trying to be their best friend, it's pretty transparent. And I see it happen all the time. I think it's kind of gross when you see somebody like buddy up next to Chris Brown and laugh at everything he says and, oh, you're the best Chris, da-da-da-da, and like, I've seen it. But when you're like a really genuine person, you talk to him like he's a normal person, because these people aren't really anything special. They may be very talented and good at what they do, but ultimately they're just like you and me, you know. And that's one thing that you realize very quickly when you're around. You kind of get a little starstruck at this person because you're a fan of what he does, but once you get to talking to him, he's a normal person. And if you're a regular person and you can treat him like a normal person, don't go over the top. Just be you. You know, nobody's gonna be more you than you. And if you can do that, then you'll establish genuine relationships with these people, regardless of who it is. Tech, dance, entertainment, art, you know, teaching, whatever it is.
Mike, you know what's so crazy, dog? Now, I have a lot of energy, Mike, okay? You may have caught on to that, my boy. And a lot of that comes through in the way I message, too. And I know I message you, I throw a lot of emojis in there. And I'm like, man, they express my ideas so well. Going back to the communication factor, Mikey boy, you know, when you have individuals, like you said, Chris Brown, anybody at that top tier in the industry, what is it, brother, that sort of pigeonholes people? And I want to ask you about contracts. Do contracts come into play, brother? And does it change people contractually, like agreements, obligations?
Agreeing what?
For contracts through obligations and agreements in the contract, do contracts change people from what you've seen?
Not necessarily the contract itself, but success definitely changes people, for sure. I've seen a lot of people get very successful and they're very different people. And I've seen some people get very successful and they're the same person that I knew, you know, way beforehand. You know, contracts do get complicated. As far as what we do, as far as all the TV shows that we do, we're always dealing with like some sort of contract. And that's a whole nother language. That's a whole nother language. And as long as we've been around, now we know what to look for and what, you know, the addendums are and where we can insert this. And luckily we have enough power to be able to change and alter contracts based on what we want to do.
Mike, I was talking to the students prior to you calling in, and I was mentioning a little bit about contracts and how contracts can really create your image.
Mm-hmm.
It can express in a way what that network wants you to be. Have you seen that, brother, on your side? Anybody trying to control your image or control a bit about, you know, the way that you connect with the world around you?
Oh, it's happened a lot. It's definitely happened a lot. And that's one of the pitfalls of this thing that you always got to watch out for, is to don't be what you feel like people want you to be, or whatever this job wants you to be, or what this company wants you to be. Because you might alter whatever needs to be altered and change it to be that for that company or whoever, but it's not going to last long because that's not who you are. Like I said, you need the right formula, otherwise you're gonna fall quickly. You need to be you. And if being you isn't good enough for that job and it doesn't last, then that job is not for you, or that business is.
I like that, Mike. I've had jobs, my scholars, where I've had people want to change who I was. I've had jobs where people want to say, hey, listen, I don't like your hair being long, or I don't like how you talk, or whatever it is, you know? And Mike, I concur with you, brother. The one thing, my scholars, regardless of what anyone thinks about you, you pay no mind to them. Don't let them rent space in your head, because what matters is your dream and your vision. Is that true, Mike?
Oh, it's very true. It's very true. And I get it, like, and that is hard. It's a hard thing to do, especially with social media being what it is today. We have a tendency on focusing so much on the likes, or that like little, you know, shot of dopamine that we get from getting interaction on social media, and then that turns into validation for a lot of people. But it's like a phantom validation. It really doesn't matter. It's, you know, it's fairy dust.
I was just saying, we did a whole piece on that. Remember, my scholars, the dopaminergic pathways, how every like is sort of like a hit of some kind of drug that neurologically stimulates you and releases that dopamine. And that's why when you get a like, you're feeling good. You're feeling like, yo, I'm good money. But in actuality, it could be so hollow. It could be coming from a bot. It could come from something that doesn't even exist. And that's why, my scholars, I asked Lisa, the missus, you know, what would happen? And what do y'all think about this? If they just took social media away right now, they took Facebook away, Instagram away, YouTube, everything, bro. How would you do it? Socially. Yeah, bro, so yes, sir. We'd actually be coming back to that organic flow of life.
Oh no, we have to talk to people.
Mikey, say it one more time. Our signal got a little low.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Nah, I apologize, Mike. We had a little, it stopped for a hot second, so I apologize, kiddo.
But yeah, what were you saying? Sorry.
I apologize. I think I had missed what you said. I apologize, Mikey. but in essence, you know, social media has sort of taken us another direction. Do you think, are we on the right path, brother? Are we doing the right thing with this world of social media, my man?
It all depends on how you use it. You know, it really depends on how you use it. Use it as that, but you can't let it dictate who you are or put out some false sense of who you are. You know, we start slowly becoming what we feel people want to see, or what people want to like, or people want to view. So just got to be genuinely you, man. You just got to be passionate about whatever it is you're doing. If you're passionate about whatever it is you're doing and that's what your feed is all about, then you'll drive like-minded individuals to that. It might take some time, but you know.
And Mike, then, like, and I think about it, because with the dancing that you do, it's pretty dang spectacular, brother. You know, just curious, man, with the DJing that you do also, how did that come to fruition?
That happened on accident also. I didn't really ever consider myself a DJ. I just collected records. When I lived in Vegas, I lived with a bunch of DJs, and we would go on these little road trips and go digging for records, like rare funk and soul and reggae, and just, you know, I was just a music lover. and I just started collecting records, and we would play at the house a little bit here and there, and we would play like some parties here and there. Like, it wasn't a big thing. I moved to LA, and a good friend of mine, I DJ'd a small party in Hollywood as a favor for a friend of mine. And another friend of mine said, I didn't know you were a DJ. I'm like, I'm not a DJ. Everybody's a DJ. It's kind of a cliche thing. I'm not really a DJ. And then he said, well, why not? Because I think you should. He goes, and it turns out that he had a DJ management company.
DJ management company.
So it turns out that he had a DJ management company. And he's like, well, come meet up with me and let's talk. And we'll, let's figure something out. I'm like, okay, or whatever, you know, no big deal. He was a friend of mine. So I went to his loft downtown. We had a meeting. He said, I feel like you need to consider this another avenue for you because it's another sustainable revenue source. And you have a name. I was like, but I'm not really familiar with what's going on in music today. I don't follow like a lot of the EDM stuff, which was popular at the time. This was like, you know, it's like it was on the bubble of coming up, which is like 10 years ago. And so he says, well, yeah, I'm gonna write down a bunch of upcoming artists. Like, nobody really knows who these people are, but I feel like they're gonna be something special, and do research on these people and just kind of figure it out and give yourself a little education on on that scene. It's funny, I still had that piece of paper somewhere, and on it said Dead Mouse, David Guetta, Calvin Harris, Steve Aoki, and it was like all these names that are massive.
About that piece. Thank you, man. A lot of students are like, yo, that's crazy, bro.
Right, so then he ended up signing me to the label, and I just started going out, and I probably was not skill-wise there yet, but I got thrust into it, and I ended up booking like a residency at like one of like the clubs in Hollywood, like the type of club that like nobody can get into. It's the type of club where like Leonardo DiCaprio's at this table, and at that table, and Johnny Depp's at that table, and so this is the place I'm DJing at like a year in.
Is there a teacher table? Is there like a professor table? Can I go to? Us teachers get crazy, dog. Teachers get wild, bro.
Through that, I ended up getting a bunch of really great contacts, and people were like a fan of the type of music I played. I tried not to cater too much to like what I felt like people wanted to hear. A little bit of that, but also wanted to kind of give my take on, you know, on music today and kind of, and have fun with I'm an open format DJ. I play a little bit of everything. So through that, I'm official DJ for Bay Films, for Michael Bay and like his whole film company.
Mike,
So, but that came out of just kind of being right place, right time, and I wasn't.
I was gonna say, for my students, guys,
The what?
my internet signal, it was going out a little bit. I was just telling my scholars, crew, if anyone jumps on the internet just to do a little search on Mike, just pause it for a hot second, just so it doesn't go into the internet. I'll just make it, because it was getting a little spotty for a hot second. You're looking good, Mikey. You look handsome, kiddo. You good money, brother. You're looking good. Every once in a while, I got a little, for the last couple of seconds, got a little blip in there. Mikey, man, so one is really quick. We go from DJ. Now, I got a couple of my fighters in here. And I want to ask you, my brother, about jiu-jitsu. Because this is beyond jiu-jitsu. This goes into mental discipline. And I want to ask you, Mike, man, and we're going to come back to the music aspect and to the communication aspect, but I want to ask you, brother, what is it about jiu-jitsu, that got you into it? Why did you start jiu-jitsu? And how does jiu-jitsu tie into your everyday life?
Well, the reason why I got into jiu-jitsu was the same reason I got into dancing and DJing. It's ultimately problem solving is what it is. And that's what drove me to it. So for me, I'm kind of like a sucker for things that I can go down like a nerdy rabbit hole about those things. Like when I get into something, I get like really into it. I just bought a camera and I spent like a week on YouTube Googling and like researching ISO and shutter speed and, contrast and all this other stuff. But I just get really into these things. And with jiu-jitsu, it was kind of the same. It's a problem solving thing. It's a chess match between you and somebody else. And that's kind of what that's the whole reason I got into it. Like people say it's like discipline. Yeah, it's discipline. But if you keep on showing up, literally half of life and half of success in general is just showing up.
Woo! That's right. I'm getting up, man. I'm getting up. Mikey, you got me going, dog. Because in the end, it's about being there. It's about believing in yourself and not letting anybody scare you. And a lot of times, my scholars, we scare ourselves. But I tell my students this all the time, Mikey. A lot of times, we stand in our own way. And I want you to realize you're hearing from one of the greats. I'm trying to hear one of the greats. If I have my friend here, I ask you to do a windmill. So what I'm going to do is, Mikey, I'm going to go to you. Ready?
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yeah! Thank you, Mike. I give you my Murda. That's so good. Because I want you to understand, the picture is bigger than right now. The moment will pass. This moment will pass. But what matters is what you hold on to, what you believe, what you take with you the rest of your life. That's why I do these guest lectures, and that's why we're so lucky to have Mike with us. Because Mike didn't ask for money for this, myself. I'm going to be straight up with you. Mike did this out of love of his heart. Because he's somebody also on that path of greatness. And Mike, I just want to thank you for that, my brother. And, our students here, we are truly humbled by your presence, Mike. And I want to ask you, bro, like, as you've been, talking with these big-time, producers, big-time dancers, I saw you with a fella at a bowling alley. And I saw him on one of the shows recently. I'm not sure if it was America's Got Talent, one of them. And I forget his name.
Oh, Ian Eastwood.
Ian Eastwood. Yes, yeah. If the students saw him, they would know the great dancer he is. And I know you put on social media, you were just bowling with him.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
That's a buddy of mine.
That was actually a surprise birthday party for him. We surprised him, and he showed up. His girl showed up, and that was at the party the other day.
Oh, that's awesome, Mikey. Bro, like, what is it, man? With NBC, was NBC a different platform than MTV? And was it much different?
It was different. Oddly enough, the NBC show was bigger, but we got way more notoriety out of the MTV show because NBC was a little saturated. There was so much talent on the show that you kind of get lost in the mix. But with MTV, it was a very niche audience. That was like our demographic, specifically our demographic. So when we came off of that show, you know, it was kind of a bit of a whirlwind. Everybody knew who we were. And, you know, we felt, I guess you could say we were like on some B-list fame type shit, you know? Yeah, which is fine. But then coming off the NBC show, it's definitely had more eyes on you, but there's more talent, there's more product out there. So and especially today, when I was on that MTV show, MySpace was a thing. Facebook wasn't around, Instagram wasn't around, any of that stuff. So when people wanted to see these things, they go to the MTV website, or they tune in religiously to watch the show. So you had diehard fans. Now there's such an abundance of information flying at you day to day. You might watch a video today that you love, and it's a great video, but then tomorrow there's going to be another great video, and then you forgot about the other video.
Exactly. That's what's crazy about it, Mike. Our attention span in America is really short. We'll remember what was on the cover of the paper the day before, or that morning. We'll forget what was on the day before. And that impacts us. It impacts us in the way that we start to operate with people around the world, people that we connect with immediately. And Mike, I had a good question, man. I was just connecting with one of my colleagues out here, and they asked me, well, how did you guys differentiate yourself apart from all the other incredible artists out there, brother? How did Super Crew differentiate yourselves, being able to, be so versatile as dancers? And there's so many incredible dancers out there. How did you all become that? How did you set yourself apart?
Well, we were already, from the jump, we were set apart a little bit because we came from the b-boy culture, right? We came from the b-boy scene, and then we came into like the hip hop dance arena. So we were already different, right? We're already different, but everybody kind of looked at us like a side act, like, oh, these guys are going to be entertaining, they're going to blow it up, but ultimately there's no way they're going to win this thing, So that drives us. We're like, well, they don't believe in us, now we got to pull up and really kind of make this thing happen, and we grew in the process. But so now, once people know us as the B-Boys and we're legit, or we won America's Best Dance Crew, now what do we do to set ourselves aside from other B-Boy crews? Because once we won, there was like a big wave of B-Boy crews trying to come into that arena and do what we did, following the model that we set. So now how do we differentiate people from who we are? Now we got to change things up, because there's a bunch of people behind us, like right on our tail, right?
Good point.
Anybody who's successful, you name them, even at the top of the game, like an Elon Musk type person, you better believe there's like 500 guys right behind Elon Musk who have just as much money that are trying to be the next Elon Musk, following everything that he's doing, right?
A couple of y'all here. Yes.
So as a leader, so as like a trendsetter and a leader, you got to constantly find ways to reinvent what it is that you do. And there's a few people that are very good at that. Like, they love him or hate him, Kanye West. He always tries something different. Sometimes it's really weird, but he's still setting himself aside from everything else that's out there. And there's nothing like it. So with us, how do we set ourselves aside and do something different? You know what? We're going to start dancing to music that people would never expect us to dance to. Or we're going to start putting these pieces together. We're going to go contemporary, but with what we do. So we started doing sets to like Coldplay or James Bay or different artists like that, or Disclosure and Sam Smith. Like, that's not music that B-Boys dance to.
Exactly.
It's going to met with a certain level of pushback. People are like, well, I don't like it because it's different from what you guys typically do. But you can't, like I said, you can't listen to those people. You can't listen to what people want to dictate what it is that you're supposed to do. And we're all guilty of it, man. People always want to put you in a box.
Yeah.
So it happens with me all the time. They go, oh, you're a dancer? Well, I thought you were a DJ. Huh? And they're like, they don't know what to do.
Exactly. They're like, well, wait a second. Should we look at Mike Murda as the breakdancer, or is Mike Murda a DJ? And how do we go about speaking to this individual? Like you said, Mike,
right.
You talk to people the way you would talk to anybody else. Archbishop of South Africa at one point, Desmond Tutu, my scholars, and everybody came in today for my scholars, he had once said this. He said, a person is a person who sees others as persons.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
We all people. Don't let nobody fake the funk to you. Yeah, you're better than most. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta realize, the way that we start to communicate. Our class is business communications, which is why I want to center a lot of these questions on this idea, but it's about you centering yourself as well and being that center of your universe.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, quick question, man. Abstract question, brother. More metaphysical. Ideas of the law of attraction, ideas of positive thinking. Does that go into your life at all? Does that get integrated?
It does. You know what's funny is I didn't necessarily completely buy that notion. Ultimately, I didn't. I was kind of like, you know, yeah, law of attraction. If I want something, I'm gonna magically make the shit happen. All right. Right, because there's a problem that I do have with that notion, and not so much in the notion itself and the way it's presented. It's the law of attraction. If you want something, you put it out in the universe, it's going to come to you, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait for it to happen. But that's not the way it works. You know, like if I wanted to, like I said, if I wanted to win an Emmy, right? Law of attraction, I'm going to make it happen. Or you can have it in the back of your mind, say that that's ultimately a goal, but continue to work your ass off. And keep on working towards that goal and working towards that goal and working towards that goal. And just, you got to keep on, you got to put in the work. Like that's the problem I have with not so much the law of attraction, but in the way it's presented.
Yes.
Because we all think about if you want it, it's just going to happen. But it doesn't really go that way. You need to work harder than everybody else. That's
it's like the seed. The thought is the seed. And then the work is the watering. The work is the nurturing. And we watch that plant come up as we nurture it. And that's how our dreams become our reality, my scholars. We think it first, we work at it every day tirelessly, and then we be it. This young man right here, I say young man, we about the same age, Mikey, we young. You know, he came from El Paso, Texas. Nobody gave him a free ride. I don't think you had anybody opening the door for you as you were a kid, Mikey. Did you have anybody in the industry?
No, absolutely not. I had to go and audition and like get the job, like dancing in the background of some like small commercial where I met the choreographer who was on it, and then he put me on the next job, and then through him I met the artist, and then through the artist I developed a relationship, and then he took me on tour, and then it goes one after the other after the other after. But it's pretty organic. Like I said, you just got to be out there and you got to be working hard. And you know, the law of attraction, it does work, but it should be sold with a big bag of hard work.
I like that.
I'm not gonna lie. Every once in a while, the universe does trip me out. Every once in a while, like I'll use this as an example. This is something that happened to me earlier this year. I was talking to a friend of mine about an idea that I had for like a Netflix show, like a docu-series about dance. And I was like, because I'm a big fan of Chef's Table, right, on Netflix.
Yes.
And not so much the show itself. The show is great, but the way it's filmed and the way it's put together, it's so beautifully done, right? So I'm like, something like that needs to be done with dance. It's a trip that nothing like that's been done. Everything that's been done with dance, it's like a little corny, it's a little hokey. And so I'm like, I don't know anybody at Netflix. You know, I don't know any of these people. That's not even my industry. I wouldn't even know how to go about entertaining the idea. And so I'm like, just, you know, it's kind of frustrating because I have this vision. And cut to like, I told maybe one other friend of mine, cut to like maybe 2 weeks later, an old friend of mine that I've known forever, he works in film, he said, hey, I have this idea for a show. I'm doing this show on Netflix called Fight World that's not out yet, and I want to do another thing on dance. And, you know, I want to try to develop this thing with you as the host. I said, are you freaking serious? What were the odds of that happening, of that just kind of finding its way into my life? Like, okay, you know, but it's nothing solid right now, but it's just kind of all being talked about. But the fact that it was something that I saw and I just kind of put it out there, it literally came back and found me. Like somebody from Netflix just called me up, with no clue that I had any of the visions that I had. So every once in a while, the universe does surprise you. And I feel like that's a rare
Mikey, but now I was checking the camera's looking great on our side. I want to make sure they got you because honestly, Mike, this is a huge piece for us today. Having you with us, Mike Carrasco, aka Mike Murda, you know, this is an honor, brother. Now, you mentioned that Netflix was a reality. Now, we talked about this about a year or so ago, Mike, on the show. You were in a documentary, or is that the one that you were just making a point of?
No, different one. Which documentary are you talking about? Planet B-Boy?
Planet B-Boy, brother. Yes, please. Mike, my scholars, this documentary about breakdancing now, Mike, this is B-Boys out in Asia.
Yeah, there was a documentary that followed 4 different countries and 4 different crews. So it was Nakoazu, the crew that I was with from America, a crew from Korea, a crew from Japan, a crew from France. And it was a documentary about everybody coming together for the World Championships in Germany. And the documentary did really well. We traveled the world with it. We did Ellen, we did David Letterman, we did like all the promotional stuff. We did all the film festivals all over the world.
Mikey, now listen, Planet B-Boy, my scholars, do me a favor. Mike, now I apologize. Planet B-Boy is on.
It's really old at this point. That was filmed in 2005 and 6.
And I remember it because I was blown away by every dancer, because I would watch breakdancers, guys. I'm gonna date myself, Mike. Movie called Breaking. You remember Breaking?
Yeah.
You remember Beach Street, brother? You remember Beach Street, Hollis, Queens, all right? These are movies that I used to watch in the 80s. And I used to be hyped. I used to get like my little cardboard, you know what I'm saying, Mikey? I used to do my little thing. I'm not gonna try too crazy, Mikey, but I would get into it, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just one of those little dudes from the New York City area, Long Island area, man. But there were some great dancers out in New York City. And then I thought to myself, well, what's it like across America? And then I come across your caliber of dance, Mike. And I see that what you have done is taken it to another level, brother, with the choreography. We watched the video clip last class, if you remember, my scholars. Old school ABDC, never get that intro, and you all were dressed up as ninjas.
Oh, Jesus, okay.
It's an older one, bro. I didn't take a picture.
So a funny story about that, and it kind of ties into what I was saying about being different, kind of like being, stepping outside the box. It's a scary thing. It's a really scary thing. So that was episode 1 of America's Best Dance Group, right? So we're already kind of the outcast. We're like the B-boy crew, and there's all the other hip-hop dancers, and everybody's wearing their hoodie, and they look very dancery, and their sideways hats and shit, right? So we're all standing up on stage, and we're going to do this ninja piece. It's something that we've been doing for a long time already. So we have to come out on stage, and everybody stands in their pods, and Mario Lopez comes out, and he does his little spiel about everybody, right? And so as we're standing out there, we're looking at each other, and our exact words to each other, we looked at everybody, and everybody looked like dancers, and everybody looked very hip-hop, and we're dressed in these karate outfits, we have ninja costumes on. We look like cheap Halloween. We're standing on stage, and I think one of the guys looked back at me and he goes, "I think we fucked up." I think we're so far outside the box. We felt there's comfort in numbers, and we just didn't feel like we were a part of it. Yeah. So we're like, okay, well, let's just go and do our thing. Now we're already committed at this point. We got to do it. At one point we were like, should we change our wardrobe? And
that's crazy. That's crazy about that.
I felt like we looked really stupid up there. I feel like we looked really stupid.
It was so dope. It was so dope.
Right? So then we ended up going out and we do the show that we did, and it ended up, we knocked it out of the park. That was one of the best shows of the entire season, much less of America's Best Dance Crew. They did an episode later on of the 10 greatest performances in the history of America's Best Dance Crew, and we were number 2.
Yeah, that's right, Mikey.
It was that performance. But we were just like, all right, well, it's a scary thing to kind of step outside the box and be something different, because that's not always well received. That's different. You guys are breakdancers. Why are you dressed as ninjas? Why do you look like that? Why do you look crazy? But it paid off. It paid off. Ultimately, it paid off.
Mikey, I want to do a quick little time check, because I know we've been rocking for about 40 minutes, brother. And what I want to do is I apologize. I want to give our students a couple moments to connect with you, if they'd be interested in doing so, brother, because we've been talking about you, Mike. Now that you finally have the opportunity to connect with this gentleman, as I'm spit on myself, I want you to have this opportunity to be connected. And I want you, my crew, to realize that you're here talking to the man. I want you to follow Mike on social media. I want you to connect to him, and I want you to continue the relationship that you're creating right here. Because Mike, I think as you could concur, brother, this is how greatness happens.
Mm-hmm.
This is how dreams come true. And Mike, bro, like how we connected, I told our students, you know, we have a talk show, you know, we connected via social media, right? To initially get on our talk show a year and change ago. Mike was brilliant. Oh, that was with the Conor McGregor, who was that? Nate and McGregor fight.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about what should happen to McGregor with what happened on the buses, bro? What do you think?
I don't know. The chances are nothing will happen to him.
should he pay a price for that?
Oh, definitely. He's going to lose millions for it, for sure.
Yeah.
He's definitely going to lose millions for it. But it's not going to hurt his brand. He's probably more popular than ever.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mike. Before I get into student questions, comments, Brandon, I want to ask you, my man, what do you think, if you can give advice to these students from around the planet right here, Mike, about branding, what have you learned, Mike, man, from all your years doing this? What's one of the best ways to get into public consciousness? One of the best ways to get into the mindset of a human, brother?
I think it's just like kind of what we were saying earlier, man. You just got to be genuine about it, because I can tell when somebody's doing something because they want likes, or they want to be popular, or they want to be famous. And those are ultimately the wrong ideas. Like, one big thing with me is passion. Like, I don't give a shit what you're passionate about, as long as you are passionate about that thing. I don't really care. So, like, for example, like even in my dating life, right? Like, I met this girl, and the girl was gorgeous, and she was, you know, as hot as can be, but had no ambition, no passion for anything at all. I was like, what do you like to do with your time? She's like, I don't know. I like to go shopping every once in a while. And she worked at like a nightclub, and she's made a bunch of money, and there was nothing there. There was zero substance. And I was like, I don't care what it is. It can be coffee. You're obsessed with like how coffee is made, and you want to start your own coffee company, and you want to, like, you know, the different beans in the different regions and stuff like that. If you can take me down the rabbit hole and nerd out about something, I don't care what it is. It can be anything. That's what drives me, and that's what attracts me. And I think that ultimately that's what attracts people to you, is passion for things. You think that, like, if Bruno Mars wasn't passionate about music, you'd probably be able to tell. There's a good chance that everybody here knows that he's passionate about music, and that's what he loves to do. And that's what drives people to him, because he produces great music. Why does he produce great music? Because he's passionate about it. So it all comes full circle. I'm super passionate about what I do, and I never really wanted to be like this famous DJ or this famous dancer. I just wanted to dance. That's it. That's all there was. Like, you can never really do it for money, and money can't be a driving factor. A good friend of mine, one of the guys in Super Crew, told me, if you're passionate about it and you do it for all the right reasons, and you dedicate yourself and you don't do it for the money, money will inevitably follow. You know,
Which buddy was that? Which brother was that, Mike, from Super Crew? Which brother was that?
That was Ronnie.
Ronnie. Big shout out. I come
yeah,
in, Mike. I come in before. Sorry.
Yeah, and right now, he's an official Red Bull athlete. He's on the Red Bull roster with like Shaun White and all like the other athletes and stuff like that. And that was always his motto. He says, I'm not doing this for the money, but I'm going to continue to practice and try to learn and build and create. And eventually money will follow, inevitably. It might take some time. You're going to have a lot of kind of highs and lows. There's going to be moments where you're balling out of control, and there's moments where you're eating ramen. But either way, inevitably money will follow if you're passionate about it and you put in the work. You have to put in the work.
Mikey, man, I'll tell you this, brother. What you've done this last 45 minutes you have given wisdom, brother, that we would not have seen. And I just want to thank you for that, brother. Now listen, I got about 10 minutes, and then I got a lot of students that have to go to another class. So if it's okay, Mike, I'd like to open the floor up if there's a question or two or any comments from our students that would like to make a connection. So let me get out of the hot seat, my brother, and let me get up to the front of the room. My scholars, like the last library with us, please feel free to have a question, if you have a comment, come on up, and please make it happen. Now, Mike, our first question, comment of the day is coming from one of our brilliant colleagues out of Pismo Beach, California. This is my brother, Russ. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? Strap in, man.
I was just curious, like, what do you think the moment was in your life, like when you're supposed to be like choosing a career, kind of like what do you want to do in life, like to where you listened to that voice in your head and said, I'm going to do this full bore instead of saying I'm going to settle for just getting a career and making a comfortable living besides doing something epic like you guys did with the crew.
I personally made the decision very early on. I think I was like maybe 2 or 3 years into like dancing. I was breaking. I was like in high school. And I think that it was around that time. I don't know. I've always kind of been off the beaten path. Like when I look at what life is supposed to be, especially where I'm from, it's a very Mexican area, very traditional area. So what my family wanted from me was for me to go to school and graduate high school and then get into a good college and get a good education and then meet the right girl and then settle down and go to the 9 to 5, have a couple kids, white picket fence, right? But that was so not me. I was like, I feel like I'm way more creative. I'd be doing myself a disservice just to kind of jump in this like assembly line of life. I just couldn't do it. And college, you know, it just wasn't for me at the time. And that's just me personally. So I felt like I want to dance and this is what I'm going to do. And I know that people don't really believe that this is something you can make a living doing, but you know what? I'm going to put all my chips on the table and I'm out. And I left El Paso, I went to Vegas, and from that point on, I decided that I just wanted to dance and that's all I wanted to do. And even at one point, I was down, I was like way down. I was like, this is probably in 2000, like 5-ish, when I was like living in Vegas and I was sleeping on a friend's couch and I was struggling. I was like, I got to go out and get like a real job, you know? So I went out. I went to this restaurant and it's actually a big club in Vegas now. It's called Dre's. It's like a massive club in Vegas, right? But
any of my Vegas people here again? Yeah, we got a couple Vegas people heard of that. Yeah, yes, right.
I was working at Dre's when it was just after hours, and I got this job at a restaurant, and I was wearing my little penguin outfit, my little tuxedo, and I was like picking up people's plates and stuff like that. And I was making decent money, and I was making good tips, and I had full benefits, and it was like whatever. But I was so unhappy every time I left that place. I was so like over it, and I would literally walk in the door with like a handful of money. And I would throw it down. My roommates would be there. I would come in tearing off my little bow tie and I'd throw the money down and say, I would literally throw the money down and say, fuck that place. I'm over it.
I know how it is, Mikey. And that's the stuff like you said, Mike.
But I decided, I was like, you know what? I'd rather sleep on that couch for the next 3 years than go back to that place and make money and be just miserable. Like, this can't be about money. This can't be about money. And that's when I decided, I was like, I need to put all my chips into this bag. If I want to make this happen, it requires 100% of my attention. And if that means I got to take all the little gigs here and there and struggle for the next 3 years, then okay, so be it. It's not about the money. And even going into America's Best Dance Crew, we all passed up major opportunities to do that. I was supposed to go on tour with Chris Brown at the time, and I turned it down to do America's Best Dance Crew, which was an uncertain thing. John Dunak was on tour with Fergie at the time, and he quit her tour to do America's Best Dance Crew. Ronnie was on tour with Maxim Magazine. He quit that tour mid-tour to do America's Best Dance Crew to go make no money on the show.
I did not know that, Mike. I didn't know that, bro. So you guys were doing big work already prior to getting onto ABDC. You guys were doing tours.
Things were starting to already kind of cook for me a little bit. I was already starting to like establish myself a little bit in that industry, and things were starting to happen for me. So it was a big decision. Like, do I go the route of like the Chris Brown tour, and I'm just going to be a backup dancer, I'm going to make a good paycheck, or I can go do this America's Best Dance Crew thing and possibly, maybe, be something bigger. Maybe.
If it worked out right, Mikey.
Well, yeah, we went to the show. We all looked at each other. We better win this shit because I'm not going to look back and Chris Brown's tour to do this, and we lost second episode because we were dressed like ninjas. So, you know, it's just. I think for everybody, it's always going to be a little different. That was the moment for me. I had a couple of them. One was when I was in Texas and decided that life wasn't for me. Another one, I was working at a job I hated, and I felt like a struggle with something that I love is better than money with something that is kind of I dislike doing.
Mike, it's about 12:30 on our side, brother, and I have to let a majority of my students go to the next class. But I just want to give, if there's anybody else out there that has one last question, brother, Javier, please come on up. I have one more question, Mike, if I could hold you for a moment, brother. And I want everybody to hear this, what I'm telling you. I got you a dope dinner, brother, or a lunch down the road, okay, my man? I owe you for this, man. And honestly, I don't owe people in life, but I got you, boy. You know that. I got you, brother. Thank you for this, Mikey. Mikey, this is my jiu-jitsu. This is my security. This is Javier, brother.
What's going on, man?
Not much. So, I heard you do jiu-jitsu.
I do.
Who do you train with?
I started training at a couple of different gyms, but I got majority of my training under Higan Machado and John Machado.
Oh, nice.
And currently I split my time between Alberto Crane and Eddie Bravo downtown Los Angeles.
Well, I know since you're like in the breakdancing world, do you ever train with Boogeyman?
I've known them for a very, very long time. I've known Boogie, so for the people that don't know, Boogie and Gio were two guys that were in the b-boy scene, and they were very different in the b-boy scene. And they both got into jiu-jitsu, and they became world champions in jiu-jitsu. But I've known those guys since way before any of us did jiu-jitsu. So yeah, I know them very well. I've trained with them over at HQ. We keep in touch very often. It's funny because I really wasn't even that cool with them in the b-boy scene. It wasn't until we both got into jiu-jitsu, now they're good friends of mine.
Oh, cool, bro. Yeah, well, maybe sometime when I'm down in LA, I'll stop by and catch you.
Absolutely. Yeah, anytime. Just message me on social media, and whenever I'm out there, I think I'll be in that area sometime later this year with World of Dance. And I would love to find a place to go train.
All right.
My scholars, listen. At 12:30, I know many of you already go to another class. Before we get going, I just want to make a final closeout comment. You know, Mike, out of all the years I've been teaching, 15 years, bro, that's how I keep my nice, like, young look here.
Right.
There is only a few people that I consider true intellectuals. And I just want you to hear this, my scholars. It's because people care, when people are humble, when people are honest. That's the measurement of a true intellectual. Anybody can learn facts, but it's the way we communicate with one another that shows how brilliant we are. And Mike, you're one of those intellectuals, brother. My scholars, can we have a warm and hearty round of applause for our guest lecturer? Yeah, Mikey, my man, brother. And Mike, I want to give you a moment. If there's any last-minute words you'd like to leave with our scholars before they get cruising out, what would you like to let them know?
Geez, man. Just work hard, man. That's it. Just like I said, it can't be about the money. Just be passionate about whatever it is. Whatever you're going to do, just as long as you're passionate about it and invest your time. And if it's something you want to do, then you got to go full steam ahead. Fuck what everybody thinks or what everybody's opinions are about it. Just be genuinely you and just keep trekking ahead.
My scholars, can we have one more round of applause for our guest lecturer, Mark Martin?